The writer Annie Dillard has said that there are times when instead of our Sunday best, we should wear crash helmets to church because of the power that is discussed in the most cavalier fashion at some times. That we don't have the foggiest notion of what we are talking about. And sometimes as a pastor standing up front, trying to understand and to figure out what it is best to say, I can fully appreciate her remarks. Especially on a Sunday with as powerful a message as this one is. Because the writer of the gospel is speaking to his followers in order to reassure them that this Jesus, this man of whom they have been speaking and worshiping and considering and following and getting in trouble because they were believing in him. This man Jesus was not just human, but he personified the presence of God with them. We notice in the gospel lesson and in the lesson from the Hebrew scriptures, in both cases, these are mountaintop experiences. In the ancient world, to be on the mountaintop was to experience and to be able to touch the divine, to be able to know and to see and to understand a bit more about the sacred. So you notice when the last few weeks we have been talking about the Sermon on the Mount. Where was Jesus speaking? On the mountain, teaching his disciples. In Matthew, it is important that the major pronouncements that Jesus makes are from the mountaintop. It gives us a message. It is a literal message as well as a figurative message. This is something special. In Exodus, I always found the Exodus passage interesting, particularly as I went through seminary and through the ordination process. Because we always talk about Moses going up to the mountain and Moses being with God. But when you read this part of Exodus, you find out that Moses was not alone. He had his trainee with him, his understudy. And what awesome training must that have been for Joshua, to accompany the pastor, the leader who he is following up the mountain and to observe and see and hear from God directly. You can study all you want in school, any subject matter for that instance, but there is nothing like hearing from a master themselves. When a graduate program brings in as a guest speaker an expert in the subject that you are discussing in that course, in seminary, when the school invites a prophet of our time to come and speak, to hear that person speak is to sit and listen with an awe that we don't experience on a daily basis. To hear from someone that you know has an experience in life and I want to say contact, but a relationship with the divine that sometimes we can only wish for. Moses is up on the mountain for God to give him the commandments It is actually where God gives Moses the 2 tablets of stone that contain the 10 commandments. Jesus invites his disciples up, Peter, James, and John. Those who were the inner circle, if we could say, of disciples, to receive a little bit more instruction, to be privileged to witness something special. And for them to sit there and realize you're going up the mountain with a man that you're living with. You're walking from town to town, right? You're going through the countryside. You are dusty. You are dirty. They didn't have showers on a regular basis, I am sure. They were very human, right? What many of you I know may have appreciated the camping experience in your lives. After you've camped for a week and maybe not had access to hot and cold running water, right? What is it that you feel like? And as you're traveling with this teacher, you get to take somebody for granted. But on this instance, you are given a glimpse of something utterly unexpected, but outside of this realm. To be sitting with Jesus and to see him transformed, to see his whole countenance change, to see his clothing become white and brilliantly blinding, is to be struck with an awe that most of us don't get to experience. We can hear about it. We understand others maybe have gone through that experience, and we appreciate the opportunity to hear of their experience. But here, Peter, James, and John see Jesus changed. They can hear him speaking with Moses and Elijah. And it hits them. Again, this is not an ordinary rabbi. This is just not another congregational pastor, if I can put it that way. But this is someone who they are traveling with, and they realize Jesus is in tune with God. Jesus is God present with them. That window of heaven is open. That window of time is open. And they can see something special has happened. And Peter says, oh, Jesus, let's build some monuments. Let's build, he says, a tabernacle. It is like saying, let's build a monument here. Let's commemorate this space, right? How many times when something happens in our national history and we perpetuate the myth of what happened by building or preserving what happened there, right? Whether it is Lincoln's log cabin or George Washington's Mount Vernon, what is it about part of our national story? We want to see it preserved. We build statues in the town squares or at the traffic circles. And Jesus says, no, you're not going to tell everybody. Wait until I'm gone. Wait until I've been resurrected. Because then it will be something to help you prove that you have seen this happen. It will be your testimony to who I truly am. Then you can say, God was with us. God has been among us. What he taught us, how he led us, is from God. There's another point in what Peter wants to do It's always easier for us to remember the past, to stay where it is comfortable, to relive the past by always remembering and commemorating that and honoring that without the discomfort of being pushed into the future, to being pushed to look forward and to change. Because don't forget, before this experience, Jesus has told the disciples he's going to die, and he will be taken from them. They don't want to hear that. They want to be part of his kingdom on this earth. They want to be part of his council, his cabinet. When that happens. And now they see and they realize that's not going to happen. But Jesus, can we stay here, please? For us, those moments, that we don't want that comfort to be disrupted. There's a quote from Pope Francis in his Encountering Truth, Meeting God in the Everyday. To put it simply, God, the Holy Spirit, bothers us. Because God moves us and makes us walk. He pushes the church to go forward. But we're like Peter at the Transfiguration. How wonderful it is to be here like this, all together. But don't bother us. Don't make us go back down the mountain. Don't make us go back down to real life and real ministry and real work among the people. No, let's stay up here. Let's stay apart. We want the Holy Spirit to doze off. We want to domesticate the Holy Spirit. And that's no good. Because the Holy Spirit is God. The Holy Spirit is that wind which comes and goes, and we don't know where. The Holy Spirit is the power of God. The Holy Spirit is the one who gives us consolation and strength to move forward. But it is to move forward, not back. And this bothers us because it's so much nicer to be comfortable. As we move from the season of Epiphany, the season in which we discuss God and light and love, and we have to come down off of that mountain of remembering God's love for us and that God is with us. We have to walk down into the valley to remember what it is that Jesus went through to get us there. As we begin the season of Lent together, there will be painful moments that we have to experience along with Jesus. They are as important for us to understand as those mountaintop experiences. It's important for us to remember God is with us, and God is light, and God is love. But the other thing that Jesus was is he had pain also. He suffered also. So that when we go through pain, whether it is emotional pain or physical pain, whatever that comes in our life, we are not the first one to have experienced that. We can know that God is on the mountaintop, in that bright, brilliant clothing, and God is with us when we are in shredded clothing with skinned knees, sick hearts, and minds that want to tear us apart. Jesus, God, is with us in all of that. May we be given glimpses on the mountaintop of Jesus' glory, of the glory of God, of our relationship with God. And may God walk with us as we now begin down the mountain. And we begin to walk through the valley of the shadow that we call Lent. May God walk with us. May we walk with